Sometimes I feel I'm scared to live. Living is what scares me. Dying is easy.
This is the Bare Bones
Podcast.
Sorry, I had to pause Criminal Minds. How that s'more doing, bitch?
Good.
Come move closer to the mic.
Recording?
Yeah, we're recording right now.
Oh shit!
You just sitting there shoving a s'more down your throat.
What am I supposed to do on 4th of July?
We're totally not recording this the day. We have to give the illusion that we record these on a good schedule, that we're professional, you know, that we don't just record them the moment we have downtime because we're bored. I had to pause Criminal Minds in the background. I don't even know what episode this is.
It's just randomly playing.
Yeah, it just plays in the background. It's like we're in a hotel lobby. I'm David.
This is Vicky.
This is Bare Bones Podcast. What is our topic today?
You tell me.
So the Old West, right? It's the American frontier. Mm-hmm. The idea of manifest destiny had driven thousands of Americans west, as they believed it was their God-given right to rule over the continent. That can't be emphasized enough. We covered that when I was, what class was that? I think that was American Religious History. We talked about how it was, for a lot of Americans, quite literally, they believed God had put them in the colonies back in the 1700s in order to take over the entire continent. That it was literally their God-given right. In the mid-1800s, expansion west took off as the Industrial Revolution went into full swing. Inventions like railroad increased the American ability to move across country.
So people can just easily come and go. Cities growing.
It's allowing people can cover much greater distances than foot and horse. Because think, beforehand, back in the olden days, the fastest you could go was horseback. And now all of a sudden, things exist that not only can go faster, but can go farther than a horse can.
Isn't it cool how, that was invented? Like a train, like a new mode of transportation. That's pretty cool.
Is this like a setup for a joke or something?
No.
You just, I was gonna say too, it actually was a legit concern people had, because I think I want to say trains could go up to 40, 50 miles per hour. Mm-hmm. I mean, decent speed, but I mean, compared to modern day, not really that fast.
But for back then,
that was crazy to them. And there was legitimately people who thought that if human beings went on trains, because they'd be going so fast, they would melt, or their organs would explode.
Wait until they find out about planes.
A big thing for a long time, they didn't let women ride trains because they thought the speed and shaking of the train would mess up their uterus and not allow them to have children. There was, for a lot of human history, even today, a lot of men, especially men who are in power, don't really understand how the female body works,
I mean, there's always education on. You can search it up on Google and everything. It's they can search it up if they want it to.
Right. The threat of the wilderness was a constant in the West. It is often thought as a completely lawless time and place. However, the threat of the outside world outweighed the threat of crime. Threats such as hunger, disease, and the weather were much more of a stress on the average person than banditos and cowboys. So in that, I'm just trying to trying to kind of disclose the myth that a lot of movies have painted of like everybody's getting in gunfights all the time. It definitely, there was definitely crime. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah,
like
for
a lot of crime going on, but you could walk outside and not be afraid of getting gunned down immediately as you step out. Like there weren't gunfights daily because people were trying to live their life. Cattle was a massive industry in Texas. Mining became a thing in the Rocky Mountains and in California. Oil became a valuable resource as industry took off. Many of the settlements in the area followed these industries. So where an industry would find some kind of resource or way that they could make profit, a settlement would follow. Where before, so it's really interesting too, if you look at like the shape of states, you ever noticed how
They're so weird.
all the shapes on the east are really kind of jagged and weird, and then as you go out west, they become more straight line. A lot of this has to do with because the states in the east were founded before railroads were popular. All of their boundaries and borders were made on like mountain ranges and rivers and stuff like that. All the states in the west, their boundaries were made on the railroads. That's why they're so straight.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and so that kind of shows how a lot of the industry and everything going out there really kind of shaped the West, the Old West. However, even as civilization continued to push on across the continent, the problems of society followed. Many individuals gained prominence in history for the audacity of their crimes. So, like I was saying, the crime and everything, it still existed. It wasn't in the same way that a lot of movies and TV shows or Red Dead Redemption portray. However, we have some terrifying individuals we can talk about. One of them is Liver-Eating Johnson. One of these individuals was a man by the name of Liver-Eating Johnson, born in 1824 as John Jeremiah Garrison Johnston with a T in Little York, New Jersey. Some of the earliest things we know about his life is that he worked on many ships and served during the Mexican-American War. He served as a sailor aboard several different Navy ships. Everywhere he went, however, rumors spread aboard the ships he worked on that he was a complete monster. Sailors told stories that Johnston was a murderer, that he felt nothing, and that he was cold-blooded. It is said that after striking an officer, he deserted the Navy and moved out west. Around this time, he changed his name to John Johnson, dropping the T in his last name to try and hide from the authorities. How good of a hiding strategy is that? Johnston? No, I'm Johnson. You've got the wrong guy, officer. Yes, I know I have the same first and middle name, and I match the description, but notice that T?
You're wrong.
Motherfucker. And it's just, I find it so ridiculous. 1847, a group of Crow Indian braves attacked his home, killing his wife and burning the place to the ground. Johnson swore a personal vendetta against the Crow. Then he hunted and killed the braves. Not only did he kill them, but he cut out their livers and ate them.
He got what he wanted.
I didn't mention on the script, but his wife was a Flathead Indian. And I tried to really find like a reason why they killed her, and I couldn't. I think it was just the Crow Indians. I think they just had like a raiding party that was just like, we gon' kill this dude. And yeah, they kind of burned off.
Fuck up with his life.
But according to the Crow people, the liver is an essential part to entering the afterlife. By eating their liver, Johnson was not only visually killing the Crows, but ending their chance at entering the afterlife. Legend says that altogether, Johnson hunted, killed, and ate the liver of over 300 Crow Indians.
300?
I know. That's a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, I know I'm a weirdo and I enjoy liverwurst, and and gross stuff like that.
I mean, it's good. I've had it before. Like, I grew up.
But
with it.
like 300 livers is a lot of livers.
What do you do with them? Does he eat
He
every
eats them.
single one of them?
That's a good question too. Does he eat the entire liver?
Or does he
just bite it, throw it away? Does he cook it? Doesn't even
eat
mention
it
that.
raw?
Yeah.
He like kills them.
I saw. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I've done anatomy class, but I'm pretty certain the liver's pretty large. And the liver's actually, I don't know if it's the only organ that does it, but I know it's one of the. It's an organ that regenerates itself. You can cut off just like a little piece of liver, leave it off to the side, and like it'll regenerate itself if it has sufficient energy. So really, theoretically, he didn't have to kill these guys. He could have just like operated on them, taken their liver, and
That's too much work.
sent them on their day, and nobody would have noticed. Come on.
It's easier to kill him.
One story tells that he was traveling to bring the Flatheads, again, the tribe that his wife belonged to, a load of whiskey when he was ambushed by barefoot Indians. The barefoot at this time... Oh, I'm about to burp. Hold on.
Very professional.
The barefoot at this time were allies with the Crow and wished to sell Johnson to them. The legend goes that Johnson, tied up inside the teepee, physically broke the ropes binding him, then knocked out the guard. He scalped the barefoot guarding him, ate his leg. Oh, I had a misspelling on my script. Cut off his leg, devouring the leg later.
So he just carried it with him as a snack to eat later.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain I had read, I just didn't put it in here, that he had eaten his liver too, but like, I don't totally understand the leg thing, alright?
Yeah.
I feel like that's maybe he went into, some kind of blood rage and just...
He just snapped at that moment.
His animal brain was just like, leg, cut.
How did he go from liver to leg, though? And he's scalped, though. Like, that takes time, right? To scalp.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that were scalped back in the day, and they lived.
Oh.
Like, yeah, you
That
just
sounds-
have all that exposed flesh on top of your head.
That sounds terrible.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh, that's so crazy to think of.
Is it preferable to balding, though? Will older white men still get really upset and have a midlife crisis because of it?
Let's go on.
After 25 years of bloodshed, Johnson finally made peace with the Crow. That was another one that I kind of just found very quick readings on it for the most part. It was just a lot of places being like, yeah, all this stuff happened over the course of like 25 years, and then he had some kind of incident, I can't remember exactly what, where he interacted with the Crow, and he finally was just like, hey, like, I'm an old dude, you've lost a lot of people, let's just end this feud now.
I'm
Lower
old,
head.
so I can't kill anymore.
But I like to imagine he had like blood coming down his chin, just like a liver hanging in his beard.
Ew.
Because, I mean, I feel like he won this fight. He won this war.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. 300 livers. Our next one, a little closer to home for us. The Servant Girl Killer, a.k.a. the Austin Axe Murderer.
Ooh.
In 1884, a string of gruesome murders occurred in the small town of, drumroll please, Austin, Texas. Gave that away. Between the summer of 1884 and Christmas Eve 1885, 8 women were brutally butchered in their beds. 3 of the women showed signs they had been dragged out of their bed before being cleaved with an axe. All of their homes had been broken into, the locks picked from the outside. I'm about to burp again.
I'm gonna eat my s'mores then.
Oh God, I might. It's one of those like I'm kind of having to force out, but I might like throw up a little if I try. Professional, okay. To this day, the case remains unsolved. The murders took place 3 years before the Jack the Ripper murders, leading some to theorize that it might have been Jack the Ripper himself who perpetrated them. However, circumstance shows that this is highly unlikely.
What's the circumstance?
Just, it just happened to be a brutal murder, because the chances that the guy who was Jack the Ripper, came all the way to America, came to Austin, murdered 8 women, and then within 3 years came back to England and did those murders, it's so unlikely. It just probably wasn't true.
They just had bad luck.
Yeah. Well, also, if you look in a lot of murder history, brutal mass murder history, around this time, the 1880s, 1890s, there's quite a few cases where specifically women were brutally murdered with knives, axes, clubs. It would happen all around the world, and Jack the Ripper was such a big name. Anytime it would happen, people would be like, "Oh, maybe this was Jack the Ripper. Oh my god!" And he wasn't everywhere. All right, our final one we're going to be discussing is Charles Kennedy. He was an experienced mountain man living near Eagle Nest, New Mexico. His home acted as a way station between Taos and Elizabethtown, New Mexico. Only way I know how to pronounce Taos, Taos, is...
Nestle Toll House.
I was going to say my brother has gone and snowboarded there.
Okay.
But I guess we can go with your... Okay.
Different ideas.
Travelers could stop by... How'd you get Nestle Toll House?
Because it has, toll. What was that word? It was what?
Taos.
Taos? Nestle Toll House. I don't know.
Travelers could stop by for rest and supplies while moving from one town to the other. He lived with his Indian wife and their son. Often, travelers would stop at his home where Kennedy would kill them and steal their valuables. The only reason we know about this is because of his wife's confession. In 1870, the blood-covered Mrs. Kennedy barged into a saloon in Elizabethtown where patrons, including future Texas folk hero Davy Crockett, sat eating a meal. The men calmed her and sat her down, getting her something to eat. Mrs. Kennedy described how a passerby stopped at their home one day for some rest. Charles, as usual, was kind to the traveler and invited them in. As they were having dinner, the guests asked if many Indians passed through the area. Kennedy's son asked, "What, you can't smell the one Daddy just buried under the house?" Goddamn fucking kids.
They'll say anything.
Kids say the darndest things. Charles immediately flew into a rage. He drew his pistol he had concealed and shot the guests, then bashed his son's head against the fireplace, killing both. He then threw their bodies into the cellar and locked his sobbing wife into the house. Charles then proceeded to go outside and drink himself into a stupor. That's what I'd do if I just murdered my son and a stranger.
Just drink the pain away.
His wife, now understandably traumatized from the experience, sat in the house and waited for Charles to pass out drunk. She then scaled the chimney and escaped the house, running several miles through the New Mexico countryside until she reached Elizabethtown. Fast forward to the saloon she barged into. She told the men the story and about the numerous killings. God, I'm still burping. The numerous killings Charles had done before this. The men formed a posse and headed out to the house. There, they found the still drunk Charles and arrested him. While setting up the trial, rumors began to spread that Kennedy's lawyer was going to buy his freedom through a bribe. The townspeople, incensed by this, formed a mob, broke into the jail, and noosed Kennedy to a horse.
They're just doing a plea bargain.
They, God damn it. They dragged him around town for hours until he finally succumbed and died. The mob then refused to give Kennedy's body to the priest for a proper Catholic burial. Allegedly, Charles's head was staked in front of Elizabethtown.
Dang.
Yeah, he kind of was like the most serial killery. Oh, okay. The axe murderer guy was pretty serial killery. But, like, he actually got caught. And I think it's interesting, too. We had our whole episode about different types of serial killers and stuff. Everybody should go back and watch that now.
Can you refer to what episode it is?
Episode 2. Yeah, I mean, like, you can see with Charles Kennedy, he was definitely a psychopath. The fact that he just so quickly was like, I'm gonna kill my son, and probably was gonna kill his wife later.
Maybe he didn't plan it. It was like a thing in the moment. That would have been second-degree murder, where it's not planned. It's like in the heat of the moment kind of thing.
But, like, I don't know. He was motivated by greed because he was taking valuables from the strangers, but, like, he definitely was a psychopath. Meanwhile, the axe murderer guy, that seems like somebody just went through, like, have you ever heard the term berserker mode?
No.
I've heard that. I think that's only from Last Podcast on the Left. I reference them a lot because I love them. But they always talk about, like, certain serial killers go through a, like, berserker mode where they just kind of go into a blood rage and they go on a rampage. A lot of times it'll only last, like, a week, maybe a month. But it's where they get their most amount of kills. And it almost sounds like somebody just went into a berserker mode for, like, a year and a half. Or, no, it was less than a year. It was a year and a half.
Well, it's like serial killers. They have, like, their time of period where they're active, and then when they're, not.
Yeah. And that's what it sounds like. Maybe that guy, the axe murderer guy, he probably had kills outside of that summer of 1884 and Christmas Eve of 1885. He probably had other kills. We just don't hear about them. But, like, that was his berserker mode where he really, something snapped and he fucking murdered.
Yeah.
And then Liver Eating Johnson, dear God, that guy just wanted revenge like no one else. So yeah, a lot of people, it was interesting too because trying to research serial killers for the Old West was kind of difficult because a lot of people you would get, they did kill a lot of people. Like, they murdered a lot of people, but it wasn't in the way that we think of for serial killers. Like, it wasn't for pleasure. It wasn't because they had a mission or anything like that. A lot of times they were just gunfighters. They were guys, like, dueling people because, like, oh, hey, you dishonored me.
You looked at me wrong.
Yeah, you wronged me in some way. And, like, there was famous gunfighters who, like, yeah, they had lots of kills and they killed a lot of people. But usually those people they were killing, it was because, like, hey, I challenge you to a duel. Let's go meet outside this saloon.
They're choosing basically to kill each other.
Yeah.
And one comes out alive.
Yeah. And I was kind of looking for more, like, sick, twisted individuals. And I was surprised how much harder that was to find in the Old West between, like early 1900s and, like the 1800s. I was surprised how much harder that was to find than it was because, like, yeah, it's a lot of it that I'm sure a lot of it did happen and just wasn't documented, or it was forgiven, because, like, Liver Eating Johnson, he killed like 300 Indians. Did we really care about the Native Americans up until a few decades ago?
And they probably didn't have, like, what's it called? Like, proper, like, police officers and stuff. It wasn't like...
They didn't have any. It would be
I mean, they probably had it.
It would be like the
watchmen or
the
something.
town sheriff who was voted in, and then he could deputize anyone he wanted.
Yeah, but that's basically it. So it's not like they kept records or anything.
True. I don't know. He's kind of fucked, yo.
People still be murdering out there.
Yeah. I think this is gonna be our shortest episode yet.
Probably.
Please subscribe, share with all your friends. Make sure to tell your family about us, especially like your good Christian grandmother. She'll want to hear about us. And
That's
yeah,
it.
first fan to send me an email, I will suck their left nut. All right.
What the fuck?